Another day, another record. COVID's chokehold of Sydney is tighter than ever. 291 infections have been found. The source of more than half of those is still a mystery. It shows what a mammoth task contact tracers have. A woman in her 60s has died in tragic circumstances. Kamin Gock begins tonight's coverage.
Susan Fisher went to hospital to get better. Instead, she caught COVID from a nurse. The 63-year-old mother died this morning.
I extend my, apologies and sympathies to the family, but we know how the transmission occurred, how the exposure happened, and again, my apologies to the family.
At least 22 people have lost their lives in this emergency, and more are falling seriously ill.
Anybody who thinks the health system in any country where we have a Delta variant is not under stress is kidding themselves. Of course it's under stress.
More than 300 COVID patients are now in hospital. 50 require intensive care and 22 are using a ventilator to breathe. More than half of those in ICU are under the age of 60. The youngest is in their teens.
Those pressures are being prepared for. We know that additional COVID wards are being prepared and opened up.
And there's no let-up in sight. Delta's running rampant through southwest Sydney. Campsie may be quieter than usual, but this strip is still far too busy for the Premier's liking.
We are seeing too many people frequent certain shopping areas and perhaps not doing the right thing.
So more police will be deployed to the Canterbury-Bankstown Council area.
It's good. Hopefully it'll make people stay home more.
She should put everywhere, not only here. Not only here.
Officials are most worried about 11 suburbs. They stretch as far east as Earlwood and west to Bass and Chester Hill.
We don't want to be the epicentre of this virus. We don't want our loved ones to get sick or to die from this virus.
Less than half of today's cases were isolating while they were sick. 48 were out and about in the community. Authorities don't know about more than 100 others. The virus is spreading through workplaces like wildfire. This KFC in Punchbowl has been shut down after a staff member passed COVID on to nearly a dozen of their colleagues. Now there are concerns for customers, with a health alert being issued for 7 whole days.
We now have to live with Delta in one way or another, and that's pretty obvious.
And with that concession came this plea.
I also, again, want to really, literally send out a call to arms to all arms in New South Wales. Please come forward and get vaccinated.
For your sake and the state's. And even on a Friday night, people are heeding that call, lining up and patiently waiting for their turn here at the Sydney Olympic Park's vaccination clinic. More than 93,600 doses were reported yesterday. That is a record for New South Wales. Premier Gladys Berejiklian has stressed that high vaccination rates will be key out of this pandemic, and that if we hit that target of 6 million jabs into arms by the end of the month, it will give the state government more options beyond this lockdown. Jeremy?
Kamin Gock, thank you. Let's go to Cecilia Connell in Parramatta now. Cecilia, tens of thousands of senior students won't be returning to the classroom anytime soon.
Jeremy, the Premier had planned to send Year 12s back to school in about a week and a half, but the worsening emergency has made that too dangerous. So students across Greater Sydney will sit their trial exams at home, and then there'll be different rules depending on where you live. For Layla Alamuddin, the outbreak couldn't come at a worse time.
And I can speak on behalf of my whole grade. We're nothing short of anxious, and the uncertainty is killing us.
She's studying for her trial exams in isolation, but because she lives in one of Sydney's hotspots, the 18-year-old won't be sitting them in person.
The students who live in those 8 local government areas of concern will not be able to have any face-to-face time for the foreseeable future.
Some principals have welcomed the plan.
We just can't have plan A or plan B. We've got a plan for A to Z. It's really important that we can cover contingencies and that we can adapt.
Others say they were the last to find out.
The distribution of information has been sporadic and slow, and it's changed along the way quite quickly.
Some students in other parts of Sydney will return to the classroom in 10 days. Schools will adjust timetables to reduce mixing between pupils.
Finally, we have some clarity around this matter of the return of Year 12 to face-to-face teaching.
Trial exams will be done at home across Greater Sydney.
I don't think it's going to be fair for everyone. How do you stop things like cheating?
No student sitting the HSC, no matter where they live in New South Wales, will be disadvantaged. And that's why we're giving the students in those 8 local government areas of concern the opportunity to get the vaccine from Monday next week.
Some students are anxious about returning to school, even with the option of being vaccinated. As case numbers keep climbing, it's likely these grounds will remain empty for some time.
Obviously, for those 8 LGAs, they are not going to have access to school sites like their peers, and that will all be taken into account when it comes to their final marks in the HSC.
That's some comfort for students like Layla. Cecilia, Connell, ABC News, Sydney.
Health officials' fears for the hunter are becoming reality. The virus is spreading in the region. Another 5 cases have been confirmed. But encouragingly, on the first day of lockdown, locals have turned out in huge numbers to get tested.
Day 1 of the hunter's lockdown brought news that the virus has spread.
I can confirm that there have been 2 new cases of COVID in the Newcastle area. There have not been any new cases reported from Central Coast.
There are now 7 infections in the region.
So all of those new cases we're announcing are linked, but again I am urging the Newcastle community and surrounds to come forward for getting testing.
A new testing clinic opened at Hunter Stadium. Some were more patient than others.
I've been here since 9:15.
A Wollongong tradie is accused of lying to his boss about catching COVID to avoid travelling to Newcastle for work. 23-year-old Jamie Pittman-Muir has been charged with fraud.
The police were informed, investigation started, and as a result of that, he presented himself here at Wollongong yesterday.
Hunter businesses were quick to respond to the lockdown, either closing or adapting to the restrictions. Here in Newcastle, the streets aren't completely empty, but there are clearly far fewer people out and about.
Well, we've got a mix up here in the Hunter. We've got ones that are on the knife edge, and they're the ones that have really struggled for the whole 12 months.
Business owners are calling on the region to motivate itself to push up vaccination rates.
The New South Wales government is not going to protect us. So we have to do something ourselves.
He and many others are desperate to avoid a longer lockdown.